So here's a reality you won't hear in the MSM. Labour is a party of paedophiles. And I'm about to present Starmer's list of shame the political establishment ignores. I've been prompted to do this because do you notice that less than a week after a former Labour minister was arrested after a Facebook paedophile sting where he was accused of meeting a 15-year-old boy for sex, the MSM and the political establishment have simply moved on. Nothing to see here, folks.
You told this child that you was going to go and meet him.
That wasn't because Stephen will be at work.
At 1 o'clock, you said that you was going to go and meet him at quarter to.
If we could. I don't know, trains, etc.
Yeah,
et
you see.
I don't know.
But wait, here's the slippery thing. You said you had no intention, but now you concede that actually, I might have been planning to take this child to meet Stephen. So you admit that that's what you were trying to do.
I don't know his age.
You know his age accurately. This child regularly.
Well, if I knew his actual age,
this
and
child.
I didn't know that, then I wouldn't do anything.
This child regularly told you that they were at school and they were doing school-related activities.
Indeed, Ivor Kaplan was back yesterday posting on X more revolting material that prompted Robbie Travers to reply publicly saying, "You need to stop, Ivor. You were messaging me at 16, offering me ways to advance my political career when we met. You need to immediately desist." Meanwhile, former Conservative MP Andrew Bridgen has accused an unnamed Labour MP of being a paedophile in a bombshell new interview.
I'm attacking a Labour MP who I believe is a paedophile, and I'm getting flack from my own party. There's something wrong.
How many of the MPs would you say in Parliament do you think would be of that?
I've no idea. I've no idea, but we certainly had a bad record round here.
So, here is the list of shame, proving that Labour is a party of paedophiles. Steve Carnell. The agent for Labour Minister Chris Bryant was caught with more than 12,000 indecent images and 450 films and was jailed for 3 years. Welsh Labour candidate Abdul Majid Rahman, jailed for more than 3 years for distributing child sexual abuse videos after more than 100 were found on his iPhone and laptop. Torren Smith resigned as a Labour councillor in Lambeth and later pleaded guilty for possessing child abuse images in court. Brian Gate, convicted for child pornography and resigned as a Labour councillor. Former Labour Mayor Graham Pearson, cautioned for possession of child abuse images. John Friery, another Labour councillor, convicted and jailed for 15 months for grooming a child for sex. Adrian Surfshark, a former Labour councillor and school governor, who was given a pathetic 3-year community order after being convicted for possession of the worst type of child pornography. Ex-Reading Labour councillor Nelson Bland admitted 16 counts of making indecent images of children and 1 count of distributing child porn. Keith Potts, a Labour councillor and school governor, was cautioned for making child pornography. Scottish Labour councillor David Fagan, convicted after telling an undercover police officer he wanted to rape a child and sending her messages about incest and abuse. Peter Tuffley, a Labour Party organiser and aspiring MP, jailed for 15 months for grooming a 13-year-old boy on the internet. American Labour volunteer Tim Russo was a convicted paedophile child abuser campaigning illegally for the party in the East Midlands. Newcastle Labour Party communications worker Samuel Gamlin pleaded guilty for possession of child pornography and received a 3-year community order, seeing him suspended from the party. Hackney Labour councillor and Croydon Labour borough organiser Tom Dewey pleaded guilty to a range of serious charges, including possession of and creating sexual and sadistic images of children, after a National Crime Agency investigation found he had been downloading extreme pornographic images involving violence, as well as images of sex with animals, and more than 1,500 images involving the sexual abuse of children over a 14-year period. And I am really sorry to have to go into those details. Let me tell you, when I was researching last night, I felt completely sick about what this party has covered up and the types of people they produce. And by the way, that's just the list I can legally reveal. Indeed, the Country Squire has this week put together their own list of over 70 Labour figures who they have branded a, quote, can of nonces. And perhaps there's a reason why Andrew Bridgen claims this government doesn't want to act on these issues, including this refusal today, this shameful refusal today by the corrupt Home Secretary Yvette Cooper to launch a national inquiry into rape gangs, instead trying to appease Elon Musk by committing just a pathetic, paltry £10 million and backing local council inquiries, even though the local councils themselves, including Oldham, have said a local inquiry is not enough. We need a national inquiry because we can't actually get people here. But listen to Bridgen, the former Conservative MP and Reclaim MP here.
Details of people who are engaged in child trafficking into the UK. Names of all those. They've gone to the government. Nobody wants to act. Nobody wants to act about it.
How big is this?
It's big.
How many?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
How are they getting them in? Or is that?
I don't. They're flying them into small airports that haven't got fences around them. Lots of them in the UK.
Yeah, lots of small airfields.
Yeah.
You have a little biplane.
I gave the government the names of the people and the name of the company they're laundering the money through, where the children were being taken to have their photographs taken. They thought they were going to go to school. These were for selling them to paedophiles. Nothing. No, it's gone to MI5. It's gone to the National Crime Agency. No one will act. And then when you see the names, you see why.
The names.
The names of people. They are known names.
And so they're taking these children to who knows where, and they're doing who knows what to them.
Well, I'm told that they use them in the sex trade for about 3 years, and then they're worn out, and then they organ harvest them. No one's interested. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about lots of things.
Now, you know, Bridgen revealed all of that during the last election campaign. Total silence by the mainstream media. It was only after Alex Jones amplified that interview that finally people are taking notice. And as usual, I know what's going to happen. Bridgen is going to be derided and accused of being mad by the usual suspects in the mainstream media and all of the elites in Westminster, whose silence over Labour's shame, Labour's paedophile list, and the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs will go on. Now, the Superstar panel. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Reform UK's Sean Matthews. He did damn well at the general election, pushing Labour into third place, and Reverend Canon Father Phil Harris. So, Father Phil, this is a very difficult topic. Who wants to talk about those crimes, who wants to hear about those crimes. I've been truly haunted looking at the disgusting shame of the men in the Labour Party. And as I say, that's a tiny proportion of them. Andrew Bridgen says there is a paedophile serving as a Labour MP. And it's very hard, isn't it, to look at that list and think that there's no connection to today's refusal by the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper to launch a national inquiry into the Pakistani Muslim rape gang scandal.
I am so angry. I put a video out 6 days ago. I was just fuming, Dan, at the cover-ups, and they are literal cover-ups. And I've been deeply embarrassed. So let me just say one thing. Those that know me in terms of church and my bishops will know that I have absolutely gone after people who have any wrongdoing within the church. And so, having committed years to that, I was just embarrassed at the Elon Musk post that really raised the bar here, because we knew there was a problem. It's just the magnitude of the problem, and the fact that it's been covered up for as long as it's been covered up. And I don't think it's just, Rotherham and since then. This is something that's very historic. And the more I read, the more I'm sickened, the more angry I am. And actually, we talk about cover-ups. One of the names that you mentioned there in your horror list, Dan, was Tom Dewey. Now, Tom was, having been elected in 2022, was short-lived. And what came out about Tom was that he had this amazing catalogue of 41 Category A images, 5 Category A images, 41 Category B, 203 Category C, and then 1,523 prohibitive images of children. And he didn't do any jail time whatsoever. And even worse than that now, on appeal, he's had his ability to work with children reinstated. And I'm kind of going, hang on a second, what is going on?
Hell?
I've only just discovered this today. It literally in May 2024, his appeal, the order barring him from having any contact or communication of any kind with any child under the age of 18 was removed. And the appeal ruling handed down by Mrs. Justice May removed that restriction in its entirety. And it gets worse. No appeals were made against other restrictions imposed on Dewey. This is just like no jail time, suspended 2-year sentence, and he now can work with children again. And
this guy was living with the mayor of Hackney, the Labour mayor of Hackney. He had been doing this for 14 years, the entire time he was in the party.
Correct.
And we're meant to believe no one in Labour knew. No one in Labour knew. Even though, by the way, Father Phil, he had been suspended under mysterious circumstances by the Croydon branch of the Labour Party, but then was allowed to move on and run to be a councillor in Hackney. This party is crooked. This party is corrupt. This party is covering up child abuse crimes.
Without any shadow of a doubt. Obviously, this one particularly just made me sick. The fact that you have a suspended sentence when you've got Category A, 5 Category A, 41 Category B, and 203 Category C indecent images of children, and he can now still work with children because the bar on him has been lifted. I'm just like going, talk about cover up. Sorry, I'm just like, and we're not even mentioning the paedophile information exchange here, Dan.
Go on.
Well, the paedophile, information exchange was created in 1974 when we were going through this rapid transformative social change, and its leaders sought to further their cause by attempting to align themselves with feminist and anti-racist and gay rights movement. And basically, it was affirming the fact that it was okay to have relations with children. There's several arguments that were kind of really chilling, that around the age of consent, and that every adult and child had the right to have sex. And you just kind of go in, and that actually ended. I think it was mid-80s, something like 1984, when the paedophile information exchange was actually ended. And there are notable Labour grandees that were part of that PIE, that paedophile information exchange.
But first, you know how I often talk about the need for free speech to be protected. But I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers online. And I'm delighted to tell you I have now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. Let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy-to-use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activities stay safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe online. It also allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and channels from international streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, and Peacock. Or, by the way, if your favorite show is blocked on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus, within seconds, you can be watching as if you're in another country. How cool is that? It's also really helpful if you're traveling for work or on holiday, because you can get all your favorite content from home, including sports coverage. It's an insurance policy against creeping censorship in many countries, by the way. For example, France blocking Rumble, and on Sunday, TikTok going to be blocked in the United States of America, we are told. This VPN allows you to watch anything, anytime, anywhere. It is true freedom. Surfshark can also save you money too, because you can get the best deals from websites that change their prices depending on where you're buying from. There are other benefits too. If you're like me and you've got loads of different devices, or if your family has loads of devices, your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. There are over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, meaning there's a world of choice at your fingertips. Plus, if this is your first time using a VPN, there's 24/7 customer service. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken right now for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. By the way, what's amazing, Surfshark's so confident they're the best VPN in the world. They are, by the way. I use them. I can vouch for that. They'll give you a full refund if you're not satisfied after 30 days. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, the link is in the show notes below. But now, back to the show.
I just know what to say. I'm sick to my stomach, and people have the audacity. I'm angry is not the word. You know, you've got children who are being abused today, and you cannot mention it because it's racist or it's Islamophobic. Absolutely. Or whatever.
Absolutely.
And it's just.
And remember, this inquiry, even the local inquiry in this pathetic £10 million from Yvette Cooper would not be happening if it weren't for Elon Musk standing up for Tommy Robinson, which is a whole other conversation. But look, I want to bring Sean Matthews in on the political side of things here. Sean, firstly, great to have you on Outspoken for the first time. Congratulations on your result in the East Midlands at the general election, because really you only had a few weeks to prepare. Victoria Atkins, big Conservative name, her vote share was down 34%. You came from a standing start to receive a 25% share of the vote, pushing Labour into third place. So a few more weeks, I imagine you probably would have been the 6th Reform UK MP. So congratulations on that. What do you think about this shameful decision today by Yvette Cooper to, I think, try and fob off all of us who are saying there must be a national inquiry.
Yeah, it's just an audit that she's called for today, really. It's nothing that's going to make any huge difference. It's just a tiny little thing that she's hoping will satisfy people like you and I. And by the way, Dan, thank you for doing what you did earlier and naming those people. It was chilling even just to sit here and listen to it, let alone you reading it out. But I will disagree with one thing that you said. I think it's going to change. The mainstream media are losing their strength, as it were, and shows like yourselves and Twitter, X now, are out there and they are making a difference. And I think that given time, it will change and there will be an outcome. And eventually, I can guarantee you, there will be a national inquiry. Whether
because
it's
the dam has to burst. Well, actually, it's interesting, Sean. Let's have a look at these new polling figures that were released late last night after we came off air.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is overwhelming. Like, the British public, no matter what age you were, what party you were, want a national inquiry.
Yeah, absolutely they do. And like you say, it's all demographics. It's everybody, whether you're a Reform voter, whether you're a teenager, whether you're a Labour voter. Everybody is saying that it's only right that there is a national inquiry. The only people that aren't saying that are in the government.
Yeah.
And of course, Reform UK has pledged to fundraise for a national inquiry if the Labour Party doesn't introduce one. What I've found so fascinating about this, Sean, is that, again, rather than actually looking at the issue, trying to deal with the issue, do you know what the Westminster establishment are doing? They're coming for Reform UK. The Lib Dems are trying to get Nigel Farage in trouble with the parliamentary authorities, saying, oh, this looks like a fundraising pledge for Reform UK. No, it's not. What he's saying and what Reform UK is saying in this case, and I fully back what your party is doing, is actually we can no longer trust the government and the establishment to do what is right, so let's just do it ourselves. And why the hell not?
Absolutely, why the hell not? We've demonstrated that with the Manchester Airport issue. We began,
and those two men were in court today. By the way, they did not issue a plea, but you do have to question, if it weren't for the independent media and if it weren't for Richard Tyson, Reform UK's work on this matter, if they ever would have ended up in court.
You're absolutely right. I do wonder whether that would have been the case. Don't forget, I was a former police officer, so I sit there and I have to wonder what on earth the CPS were doing taking so long. Why on earth they couldn't charge those people at latest 2 or 3 days after they saw the evidence. And as you say, if it wasn't for Richard Tice, who is just down the road in Boston and Skegness, if it wasn't for him and Nigel Farage standing up and saying that we will do the prosecution if the government don't, then I don't think it would have come about. So I'm mindful of that when I say that there will be a national inquiry, because there will be, whether it is pushed through by Reform, and it's not a money-making exercise for them. It is genuinely what it is. It is a desire to have this thing out once and for all. Now, the trouble with that is that people are going to be exposed. People like Victoria Atkins, who was the minister in 2018, the safeguarding minister, and she decided that there was no case to answer for, making it mandatory to report child sex offences. It's just unbelievable.
I know. Well, that's the thing. And we see, Father Phil, today, this comeback from Kemi Badenoch. I couldn't even get through the whole speech. I have to be honest. I couldn't even get through the whole speech. I'm not even playing you any of it because it feels irrelevant to me, actually. I can't take her seriously, given that her government did allow all of this to happen, unfortunately. And I say this as someone, by the way, who supported Boris Johnson, who supported Liz Truss, who wanted the Conservatives to do the right thing.
Nauseating. That's all it was. It was nauseating. So the thing that really gets me is every time that Kemi stands up at the dispatch box, she should start her question with, we know that the 22 billion is not a factual figure according to the OBR. We know that we were the fastest growing economy in the G7, and disarming those rebuttals, because I haven't heard Sir Keir Starmer actually answer one question yet. And I think me and Calvin Robertson had a good feeling about Kemi Badenoch some time ago, but actually she is not up to the job, and it's just nauseating. And I was a Conservative all of my voting life until very recently, and they just lost, absolutely lost. And what they did over the 14 years, they are so much to blame. And it is the Uni Party. And Dan, you and I have talked about this lots. The Uni Party, they're just the same. They're just the same. And whether it's left or right of the aisle, it's no longer left or right of the aisle. It's a blob, isn't it? It's just a blob that's playing politics, who have frustrated the will of the people constantly for their own agenda. And we have, whichever side, whether it was Labour or Conservative, we have this moral relativism that's crept in, that they are the morality now. It doesn't matter what the people say, we know better, and then we end up where we're going to end up with. And actually, just going back to what we was discussing previously, the £10 million that's been put into the pot, it's basically 2 inquiries. There's nothing there. People hear £10 million and it's nothing in terms of the cost of these inquiries. And so we've just been sold a pup constantly. And I think the people now are waking up, given the figures. What was it? 76% felt that there should be a national inquiry. So people are waking up. But the rebrand of Conservatives, I said last time I was on, we've just seen the last Labour government. We've already seen the last Conservative government.
Wow. Well, that's going to be music to the ears of Sean Matthews. Sean, are you still intending to try and unseat Victoria Atkins at the next election? Is that your plan?
Well, before I answer that, let me just say, stop it. Leave Kemi alone. We love her. We think she's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I did say Reform UK's dream was going to be a Kemi Badenoch leadership. The person who would have caused you guys some real challenges was Robert Jenrick. That was a big mistake.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. I didn't discuss it particularly with the party, but I do think Robert Jenrick was the one that would probably have got closest to where we are, and therefore would have caused us more trouble. No, it's great. Leave her where she is. She's doing this all really well. As coming to the question, on election night, I stood there and turned around to Victoria and said, I've got your majority down to about 5,000. That is something I can win, and I'll be back. But the reality is that there are no candidates for any constituency at the moment. We've got plenty of time, for maybe even almost 5 years before we need to do that. And so I've got to be selected by the party. And then we've set up branches across the country now. And there's a really, one of the best branches in the country is Louth and Horncastle, with one of the most members of it. So they will decide who stands against Victoria at the next election. Hopefully I'll be able to prove my credentials in that regard. But yeah, I'd love to. I genuinely would love to be the Member of Parliament for Louth and Horncastle, and that's going to happen. Whoever is the Reform candidate here, I genuinely think that this seat will.
I agree. I agree, actually. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.